Well, yay. I'm glad we got you in with no issues. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Maybe for some of the folks who maybe haven't heard of you before or haven't watched your channel, maybe you can just introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about you, like where you're from, what you do, and then I'm sure they'll be posting questions as we go along.
Sounds good. So, hey, everybody. Thank you for having me, Sophia. I'm so excited to be here. I don't do lives enough, but whenever I do them, I'm always like, why don't I do these more often? They're so fun. So I'm Lisa Howdegi. I'm here on YouTube as Lisa J Makeup. I am a beauty content creator. I've been on YouTube I just celebrated 10 years this May. And 5 years into my YouTube journey, I launched my brand, which is BK Beauty. We specialize in makeup brushes. So I kind of straddle that fence of, content creator, which is my first passion, and then also brand founder and brand builder. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I am a mom. I have 2 daughters, a 7th grader and a 5th grader. So I'm very busy. Yeah, I love YouTube. YouTube is my passion. It's where I started and it's my favorite platform, but I'm also on, the other platforms at Lisa J Makeup as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I know a lot of the folks on the live, I'm sure they know you, and a lot of them know BK Beauty. A lot of them have purchased BK Beauty brushes and products before. But I really wanted to have you on here because I feel like the lives are a great opportunity to hear a little bit more about like the story behind the brand, or, your journey as like an entrepreneur, and allow people to ask questions and stuff. Because I'm sure a lot of them are familiar with the products, but they might not know about, what goes into building an awesome product and an awesome company. So I wanted to kind of kick things off and maybe just chat a little or hear a little bit more from you about like, how did you get started in makeup in general? Like what kind of brought you to this industry?
Yeah, so we'll go way back. So I've had a passion for makeup. I mean, honestly, since I was my daughter's age, 11, 12 years old, I can still remember begging my mom to have like Mary Kay parties. Back then that was a thing, just so I could learn about makeup and play with makeup. And so that passion really carried through all of high school. I used to go up to the MAC counter and, like that was just like the coolest place. The people that worked there were like the coolest people. And I had a job. I worked in the mall at a clothing store, but I would spend my entire paycheck at the MAC counter. And so when I was about 18, 19 years old, I got an opportunity to apply for a part-time job at the MAC counter. And, at the time I was graduating high school, getting into college, but didn't really have any direction of where I wanted to go, but I knew I loved makeup. So I started that part-time job having no idea that it would like carry me down this path of this career. Long story short, I worked at MAC for about 6 years. And the last 2 years that I was there, I was a regional trainer for the company. And that was really cool because I got to like travel around all of South Texas. And my role was responsible for training all the makeup artists on like technique, on products, on customer service. And looking back, that was like my makeup school. I never attended like a formal makeup school, but I got to work with about 160 different makeup artists in all these different markets that was my territory. And even though I was supposed to be training them, I was learning from them. I mean, some of those artists have gone on and they're doing celebrity makeup. They're working on TV sets now. They're working in film. Like they've really gone on and are as talented as like the most amazing makeup artists that we all know and love. And so that was an invaluable position for me because it exposed me to so many artists where I could learn technique, but it also taught me about customer service. I don't know how MAC is today, but back then, like the customer service was key at MAC, and that's really what set us apart. It also taught me about training and education. And so I loved that, but I moved on into a career of advertising, didn't love that, kept makeup in my life. At the time, I was a wedding makeup artist. And then I started having children and kind of started slowing down in terms of like my outside work. And that's actually what led me to YouTube. I had 2 little babies and I was, in this weird role of like wanting to be a stay-at-home mom, but also wanting something that allowed me to practice like this passion and have like some identity outside of just being a new mom, And so I started YouTube because I saw, YouTubers uploading videos teaching women makeup. And at that time, I didn't really understand or realize that you could monetize it and you could make a out of it. So I started a YouTube channel out of pure passion, just uploading videos, teaching myself. I'm sure, like, I'm not sure if you can relate to that story, but I think a lot of us just started out, not knowing a lot about video editing, but just having a passion creating content. So started, uploading videos to YouTube, and I grew very slowly in those first few years, but it was good because I didn't have any expectations of it. It was just a kind of a way for me to keep this passion of makeup in my life. And
did people feel like, did you get any responses from like your friends and family? Like, why are you doing this? Was it a weird thing to be doing at the time? Because I know in my family, it took them a while to realize like, oh no, like this is another job for you. Or they're like, wait, why are you making these videos? Like, why are you doing this?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I didn't really tell anyone the first probably year that I did it. I was very low key about it. Like, I didn't tell anyone in real life that I did this. And I'll never forget the first time a mom at the preschool, because my kids were in preschool at that time, came up to me and said, "Oh, I saw one of your videos." I was like, oh my gosh. I was so, I don't know why I was embarrassed, but definitely. And it wasn't until a few years in, I think, that people started realizing like, oh, that's kind of neat, what you do, and started taking it a little bit more seriously. But yeah, I definitely remember in those early days just being embarrassed. And it was funny because I felt like I had all these online friends through my channel, but even my real life friends didn't really know that I was doing it. So definitely. How long have you been on YouTube? When did you start?
I've been on YouTube, I think 3 years this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you've been growing fast then.
Sometimes it feels fast, sometimes it feels slow.
I think I had 20,000 subscribers in my 4th year. I mean, I grew very, very slow. But I say that because it was actually good that I went into it with no expectation, because if I had these expectations going into it, I would have quit way before I was able to realize like my full potential, and who knows what I'd be doing. Who knows what I'd be doing? Because YouTube really led to BK Beauty, and it led to all the amazing opportunities that I get to do now. And, I'm sure you feel this way too, but it feels like a dream sometimes. I'm like, how is this my job? Like,
yeah, totally. Do you feel like the customer interaction that you got when you worked at Mac prepared you for the type of content that you created for YouTube? Like, did you think of the person you were talking to as the person that you maybe used to talk to at the Mac counter?
Definitely. I think it helped me just understand what people's concerns or struggles are with makeup. I was actually having this conversation earlier today, but for me, like, makeup came so easy because I had this passion and interest in it for so long that I thought everyone knows how to do their makeup. I just assumed that.
Same.
And you have so many people that come up to you that are intimidated. They're scared to approach you because that makeup is intimidating, overwhelming for them. And you really start to understand that it's not, it doesn't come easily to everyone. And so it allowed me to approach content with that perspective. And I think that's, I think that, at the time, this was 10 years ago. So at the time, a lot of the beauty gurus were, the Nikki Tutorials of the world, the Jaclyn Hills of the world, the Tatis. They were doing beautiful, elaborate, colorful makeup. And it, it was beautiful and very entertaining, but it didn't really resonate with like where I was at life with 2 young kids.
Right.
And so I kind of took the approach of speaking to that woman, the woman that I was. And so I think that kind of maybe made me a little bit different,
Yeah, I remember feeling a little bit like that when I first started on YouTube as well. Like, oh, I need to impress people with my
artistry,
my artistry and my makeup skills. And like I had some skills I could show, but then I realized that there were plenty of people out there who also just like wanted to learn, what were good products for an everyday look, what's something to just, feel more natural, because it can be fun to create very artistic looks, but I think like the average person is just trying to like wake up and look cute for work or to go like pick their kids up from school.
Totally. Absolutely. And I can completely relate to that. In fact, I can look back on some of my earlier videos and it's hard to watch them now because I'm like, I was trying to be something that I wasn't, I was trying to like be that creator that that I just wasn't. So it wasn't until I really stepped into like just being comfortable speaking to the woman that was
Mhm.
me that I really felt like I got my footing, you know?
At what point in your YouTube journey did you realize like, "Oh, this could be a full-time job for me?"
It wasn't until about 3 or 4 years in, and I'll never forget that actually, because the first couple of years, I didn't even try to monetize it. I didn't know that you could, so I didn't even know affiliate links. I didn't know what those were. I wasn't using
Mm.
those. I wasn't, making enough of AdSense, or I think I made, you have to earn like $100, I think, to get paid out on AdSense, and I didn't even hit that, for the first 2 years or something.
Yeah.
And so it was just a lack of knowledge. I was also busy. I had 2 young kids, and I did have a job outside of the house that I worked. So I just didn't have time to educate myself on all these things. And I'll never forget, I had applied for Reward Style, which is now LTK. And
Mm.
they had accepted me, but I never started using the links because, again, I didn't have time to go and grab them and do all of the description box and all the things. And so like 6 months after I applied and they accepted me, I got an email that said, "Hey, we're going to deactivate your account if you don't start utilizing these links." And I was like, "Oh no, I don't want that to happen." So I dropped links into my video for the first time, and I made like, I don't know, it was like a few $100s, but I was just like, "Oh my gosh." Like, the light bulb went off for me because I was like, "Oh, okay, there is something here," and so
Mhm.
probably 6 or 8 months after that I was able to leave my job. I was working part-time, so I wasn't making a lot of money in my job. I just needed to make enough to cover, this small amount. So I was able to do that. But that was like 3.5, 4 years into creating YouTube. It could have happened
Mhm.
much sooner. I guess my point in that whole long story is that it probably could have happened sooner had I known and been proactive, but I just didn't know.
Yeah, like, sometimes it's just all about mindset. Like, I'm sure if you went into it with the mindset, "Oh, I wanna make this a business," after you got to the point where you kind of understood, like, "Oh, this is the content that I create," I'm sure it could have happened sooner, but it's all about time. Like, a lot of us, we do this part-time, and it's like, yeah, if, like, you had more time, you'd be able to accelerate that growth,
Totally.
but and, like, at what point where did BK Beauty come into this? At what point did you think to yourself, um, I'm going to take something that's already time consuming and I'm going to add even more onto it because I want to make physical products? Like what was the mission there? Like how did that all start?
Yeah, so I guess I made that switch to like my YouTube channel being an income producing, channel for me about 3.5 years in. And then it was about a year after that my husband and I had the idea to start BK Beauty. So, after about a year of running the channel and, having it more as like an income producing channel for me, and Paul, so, you met Paul. I think you met Paul at our party, right?
Yes, I met him.
Okay. So my husband he has always been like my biggest fan since the day that I met him when I was 20 years old. He has just always been truly my biggest fan, always supporting me, always pushing me, always just seeing more in me than I could see in myself. And so we always had this idea to do a business together. And I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. We were talking about products, and, of course, the topic of launching with makeup came up, but ultimately we decided on brushes because as a makeup artist, I was always telling my subscribers and my customers when I was or my clients when I was a working makeup artist, that the right tools are almost more important than the products that you're using. Like
Mhm.
you can have the highest rated, it foundation that looks amazing on everyone, but if you're applying it with the wrong tools, you're not going to get the results that you are hoping for, right? You can also be a super experienced makeup artist, and if you have the wrong tools, you'll be very limited in what you can achieve. And on the other side of that, if you are just getting started in makeup, having the right tools to help you apply these products can do a lot of the work for you. So having the right tools is so important to a makeup application. And so I always talked about that as a makeup artist. So we knew that launching with brushes is the direction that we wanted to go. And it took about a year of product development. So we had that initial, and he was working full time at the time. He was in a chief marketing officer at a cybersecurity company that he'd been at for 10 years and loved it. So for him, it was like helping me nights and weekends. I had left my job at that point. So at that time, I was just a full-time content creator. So I did have more time. But the whole product development took about a year. And then we launched in August of 2019. And, we didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. That's for sure. Excuse me. I remember the first day that we launched, we kind of just thought like we could pack orders at our coffee table and our living room table and just like, nights and weekends and kind of just have this little side business. But pretty quickly we realized like, okay, there's a bigger opportunity here than I think either one of us realized. And it's going to take like full-time effort. And so he put his notice in at his job just a couple of months later and left his career of 10 years to come on board full-time and help me operate and run the business. And we have just, we started out hiring our first employee, and then kind of as we grow, we just continue to add to our team. And right now we have about 25, 27 people that work with us. Most of them are fulfillment, packing, shipping orders, because we do all of that in-house. And it's just been a really unexpected and incredible journey the last 5 years.
Do you feel like during those early days, is there an aha moment that you remember when you realized like, oh, this can actually be a lot bigger than what it is today?
It definitely was early on. I think, within the first, so if you ask Paul that question, his answer will be a little different than mine. I always operated, unfortunately, I hate to admit this, but I'm someone that kind of that always has a little more fear and reservations about things. And keep in mind, like before we launched BK Beauty, Paul had been the sole, provider for our family. And about 2 months in is when he, came to me and said, I need to leave my job to really take this company and this business to where we can take it. And I remember thinking, no, like you can't do that,
Yeah.
I was really scared. But I can honestly say that I believe in my husband so much that if he's confident about something like that, I have confidence that it's the right decision. And so he put his notice in just a couple months after we launched the business, but he actually didn't leave. His transition was kind of long because he was a senior level there. And his last day coincided with March 13th of 2020, which is when COVID hit.
Yeah, same week.
It was the day that they canceled South by Southwest in Austin. And I remember when that day happened, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a serious thing. They're canceling South by Southwest. And that was his last day of work. And I remember thinking, what have we done? But it's thankfully, we're so grateful that it's been, obviously the best decision for us. But in terms of knowing when it was going to be something, it was in those first 6 months.
Yeah. When you saw the interest from your audience.
Yeah. That first year and a half, it really was very organic. It was like, the people that had followed me and wanted to support me. And then it was kind of my circle and network of creator friends that were trying the products and sharing them. It was all organic growth. And then about a year and a half into it is when we did our collaboration with Angie Hot and Flashy.
Yeah.
And that really took us to another level. Angie is a really special and unique creator in so many ways. She's got this really incredible massive following, but she has this trust with her audience because she is the expert and because she doesn't work with a lot of brands. And she's just researches everything that she shares on her YouTube channel. So pairing with her really elevated us to another level with the business. And then we just kind of really just gifted product to creators. Me being a creator, I had that perspective on, I say working with brands, but we didn't really do a lot of paid collaborations. It was kind of just relationship building, sharing our products, no expectations to share. If you like them, we offer an affiliate code and commissions, but there's obviously no expectation. Here's product to enjoy, and that thankfully people love the product, and kind of spread. And then when we got on TikTok, that was a whole nother inflection point for the business with TikTok Shop last year.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. Like, what's your experience been? Obviously, when you started the company, social media was completely different, and maybe the way we talked about and discovered products was different. Short form wasn't as big as it is today. I don't think there were as many, or maybe like TikTok was just kind of starting to be popular because it was around the pandemic time that I feel like it kind of blew up. Do you feel like your marketing and the way that you reach customers and you talk to your customers has evolved over the past year since you founded the company?
Definitely. Yeah, I think in the very early days, it was me creating a lot of the content for the BK Beauty, social channels. Now we have an amazing social team. You know them, Sophia, Lyric, Maria, and we just added Kiana to the team. And it's fun having them because they bring a younger perspective, and they really are the expert at short form content and helping us tell our story in short, entertaining content. I think I love YouTube because I'm obviously very chatty and long-winded. It's impossible for me to get a message in 10 seconds. I just can't do it. But in terms of your original question, the messaging and content evolving, it definitely has. Short form is a big focus for us. What we love to do is we love to take people behind the scenes and show them what it's like to be in our office and have them meet the team and show us packing orders and having fun. I think that is what separates us from a lot of other brands, is that we fulfill everything in-house, which you would be surprised, but that's kind of unusual. A lot of brands outsource that to a third-party logistics center. But it's fun for us, and it also creates these opportunities to just create fun content and let people see our growth and let people celebrate that with us, because it truly is we wouldn't have the success we're having without our customers. And so I feel like our wins are their wins, in a way. And I just want to share that with them. And we do that in a lot of our content now.
And when you were first designing the company, did you kind of have in your head a gap in the makeup brush market that you were looking to fill? And I know you specifically focus on synthetic brushes. I do feel like, especially maybe 10 years ago, there weren't as many options when it came to brushes. What sort of needs or what area of the market were you looking to fill?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, if you go back to my days at MAC Cosmetics, which is, 20 years ago, back then everything was natural hair. And, natural hair, we were told, and this was true and a lot back then, that natural hair was superior to synthetic fibers, because back then synthetic fibers weren't as evolved and elevated as they are today. And natural hair back then was a lot higher quality than it is today, generally speaking. But what's happened now is that the synthetic fiber, the technology and innovation around it has just come so far, and they can actually create synthetic fibers to mimic the performance of natural hair, even so specific to mimic specific type of natural hair. They can create a fiber that performs like pony, like goat, like squirrel. Do that by the way that they cut the fibers. They do it by the way that they shape or wave the fibers. And something that's interesting that I actually didn't know this until I started developing makeup brushes, is that, and it makes so much sense. Once I was educated on it, I'm like, oh, of course that makes sense. But natural hair, there's so many variables to natural hair. It depends on the health of the animal. Where did the animal live? What was the climate like that year? What was the diet of the animal? How much sun did that animal get? Where on the body did that hair come from? Did it come from the neck where there's not a lot of sun exposure? Did it come from the back where the sun's beating down? It's just like human hair. You can have high quality human hair, low quality. So when you just assume that natural hair is superior, that's just not the case. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some areas, where you can get extremely high quality natural hair. You'll usually pay, multiples. You'll pay a lot of money for those brushes, but there are amazing high quality natural. So I'm definitely not going to sit here and say that there's not. But I wanted to create synthetic brushes that were as good, if not better, than most natural hair brushes out there. And I wanted to really create a brand that focused on tools. If you think about it, there's not a lot of brands where there's so much focus in developing and being the experts in brushes. A lot of brands have brushes to pair with their products, but they're kind of limited.
Yeah.
As a makeup artist, I wanted to find brushes that I would have used as a makeup artist, but that are also very easy for the everyday consumer to use, because makeup artists sometimes like more detailed, more intricate brushes that can be a little intimidating to an everyday user. So I kind of blended all those interests into developing BK Beauty.
Yeah, sometimes it's funny when I watch if I'm watching a makeup artist do a look, and then I'm thinking about the way that I do my makeup, and I'm just like super quick and just like slapping it on my face. And it's like, I just don't want it to be streaky. And
Yeah,
sometimes you just need something that's really easy and fast and soft and does it in a very even way, because you might not be doing, an editorial look on yourself every
totally.
single morning. Yeah, I feel like with a lot of other brands, like you said, they might have some brushes and it might be a good like upsell opportunity to the customer if they're purchasing makeup from the brand in store or online. But I
Mhm.
feel like sometimes the brushes can be a little bit of like an afterthought, or it's just made to pair with this one product. Maybe
Mhm.
not something that's as multi-purpose as I would want it to be if it's going to be like an everyday brush.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. And I also wanted to create like a very luxury or luxurious feeling product, something that
Mm,
looked beautiful and that kind of made you feel a little more creative or inspired when you do your makeup. For me, makeup has
mm.
always been such a self care ritual. Like it's very therapeutic to do my makeup, and it always has been. And I enjoy the process of doing my makeup. And I know not everybody does. Some people just put it on because they feel like they have to, or they only have 10 minutes. But I wanted, even if you are someone that only has 5 minutes, I wanted that process to be fun and enjoyable. And so that's why we designed them the way we did, with the really high shine burgundy handles, and just wanted to bring some like luxury into it, something different than the standard black brush handles.
Yeah, give it like a little bit more of a different personality than maybe something that looks more pro, maybe intimidating to some people, more of like a friendly, like, "Hey, we're your friend to help show you how to do your makeup," almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And our Nikki LaRose collection actually is all black because that's a very pro inspired collection. So we did lean
yeah.
into that pro, artist element with that collections. But yeah, initially when we were launching those first 9 brushes and I was thinking of that signature color, I was like, I want it to feel very classic, timeless, and luxury.
Yeah. And what kind of drove you in the direction with that set? Because it's such a hugely, I mean, all of the collaborations that you've done have been so popular. What was the inspiration behind going for more of like a pro set? And then what was the process of, deciding to work with Nikki? Or maybe you decided to work with her first and then you guys like came up with that together.
Yeah. Well, I had always had in the back of my mind, going into like this pro artist series, and I was a huge fan of Nikki. I had always seen her in content like on Mixed Makeup's channel and Susan Yara, 'cause she was her makeup artist for years before she started doing her own content. So when she did start doing her own videos on YouTube and posting content on Instagram, I recognized her, and I just loved her content. I found her extremely just really warm and like someone I wanted to be friends with. She was very, very, very likable. I should say lovable. I always tell people, if you don't follow Nikki LaRose, like just watch one of her videos and you're going to love her. She's just this warm, sweet soul. And I could see a couple things from her content. I could see someone that was very passionate about makeup artistry. I could see someone that was very passionate about her community, just the way that she engaged with them and she answered every comment. And you could tell there was a connection between her and her community that was rare.
Mm,
And she's also a great educator. She really
yeah.
explains makeup, and she does beautiful, incredible, glamorous, looks, but she also teaches makeup in a very simple and approachable way. So she kind of embodied all these things that I thought was like just someone I wanted to work with. And when I actually approached her. I just kind of DM'd her because she was talking about the brushes. So she was already talking about them. And we'd have people that would, message us like, oh, Nikki LaRose said I should get this brush. And so I DM'd her on Instagram, and I just said, hey, would you be interested? She was like, what? Like she couldn't believe it. And we ended up developing that. It took us about, I think I reached out to her first in November, and we launched that following November. So it's almost a full year. Initial conversation to launch day. So it was the kind of combination. It was like, she was the perfect person to me in my eyes. And I wanted to lean into the pro artist series and in kind of that category for BK Beauty.
And then I guess while we're on the topic of like different products that you guys have launched, I know that you've like experimented with makeup in the past. You've done lipsticks, you've done eyeshadow and lashes. Do you think that you'll continue to, test out more makeup products with your audience, or do you feel like you want to focus more so on tools specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we've kind of gone back and forth with it. Honestly, I think we launched in makeup a little too soon. We definitely will launch makeup at some point. I just want to be very, when the first palette we designed, we started that process pretty early into our journey. I mean, we started talking and developing that like within the first year. And there were so many things that I just didn't know in terms of, a brand and developing cosmetics there's a lot of layers to it. And so I wanted to, after those first couple launches, we just decided we wanted to focus on brushes and kind of being the expert in that category. We were having a lot of growth and getting, we're kind of being known for brushes. And when we do get back into color cosmetics, I really want to approach it in a very, I want to kind of slowly approach it, and I want to just create amazing products and take our time and maybe not come out with all these launches back to back or these extensive launches, but just really taking our time to develop amazing products and launching a few shades, having that moment. And because I just want to be really great at everything we do. And I felt like we really got there with the brushes, but we have had more work to do in color. And so, so to answer your question, it definitely will be something that comes. But we did decide to kind of approach that a little more carefully.
I mean, I think that's part of running a business. Like you try things, you test things, you see how they perform. Sometimes you realize like, oh, I need to take a step back and really focus on like my core competency and how to make that the very best, and like maybe build up the company to a point where we're kind of known for something, and then kind of start to dabble into other related categories that your customers would like.
Totally. And, one thing about our brand is we are, we've grown, but I still consider us a small brand. My husband and I launched it with a small savings that I had from accumulating from my affiliate commissions and YouTube. So we've never taken on investors. We've never taken on, money from anyone. And so we've been bootstrapping this business, investing as we go. And cosmetics is, you need a lot of capital to invest to do cosmetics right. And it's also got a shelf life. So you really need to be in a position where you can move that product quickly so it doesn't sit there and expire on the shelves. So, we're at a point now where the brand can do that in a very, do it in the right way. And also we have developed a name and a reputation, and we have to where that's less of a gamble, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else? Are there any other like major learnings you feel like you've had over the past couple of years running the company, or like anything that you feel like you would have done differently?
That's a good question. I mean, I can think of like one thing that we did actually when we launched that, I look back on and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was a small thing and it worked out. But, that first PO that we placed, as our first purchase order, we had the date that it was going to leave the factory and it was going to arrive at our doorstep, on this date. And I created my launch video, and I promised that all the orders would ship by August 10th. But we launched the brand on August 1st. So that first 10 days, it was kind of like you could place an order, but you knew that if you placed an order, it wasn't going to ship until the 10th, because we were told the order was going to arrive like on the 3rd or the 4th. So in my head, I thought I wanted to launch for some reason, I wanted August 1st to be our launch date. I don't know why. But I thought, okay, well, everything will get here by the 3rd or 4th, and then we'll have a week to catch up and get all these orders out.
Yeah.
Things didn't show up on the 3rd or 4th, didn't show up on the 5th. And it was just like panic mode. And we, at the time, we had all these orders that were sitting there in Shopify that we couldn't start fulfilling. And long story short, my husband having to drive out of town to go pick up that shipment, because it was just sitting in a center somewhere. And we fulfilled everything in like 2 days overnight. But the lesson that I took away from that is, never plan your launch like that. Like, wait till the products are here and they've arrived before you promise a launch or ship date. From the beginning, like, I think a creator brand is different than a brand that doesn't have a person behind it. Because those first customers that for that first year were people that knew me. Like, they followed my channel. They wanted to support me. They wanted to be part of that. And you don't want to let them down. It's very personal. It was extremely personal. I had a lot of like personal investment in them having a good experience. I didn't want anyone to have a bad experience. I wanted to promise on what we said we would. I wanted to, if they weren't happy with the product, I wanted to give them a no hassle refund. I wanted customer service to be such a priority. And that has carried on, through the 5 years. I think that that's one thing that we get a lot of recognition for is, just the customer service that we have. And not everyone's going to love our product. I know that, but if they don't, we want it to make it easy for them to get a new product or get a refund or, whatever it might be. And so in terms of like what I've learned along the way, I think that has been extremely, instrumental in our success. It is just, good products, but really good service too.
And then can you tell us a little bit about the philanthropic arm of BK Beauty? Because there might be some people that aren't familiar with it.
Yes, definitely. So when Paul and I were thinking of names for the brand, I knew immediately that I didn't want to name it after myself. I don't know. That just never was interesting to me. And so at the time I was thinking of like, okay, well, what is my mission with this? Like, what is going to drive this for me when things are hard, or like what's really important to me? And my daughter's Brooklyn and Kate. So there's the B and the K kind of started there. And I wanted to, as a beauty influencer, I remember I started doing this when I had a 2-year-old and I was pregnant. So I was a new mom, I was just a different woman back then. And if I'm being really honest, for most of my life, I always used makeup as a way to feel confident, to feel pretty. And there's nothing wrong with using makeup to feel confident. It still makes me feel confident. But back then I didn't have that feeling without makeup. Like, I was very insecure. I didn't feel like I was, pretty. I felt like makeup is what made me feel pretty. And, fast forward to today, I see beauty in a very different way. I think makeup is fun and I still love it, but I see beauty as being more, the person that's inside and how you love and accept yourself and how you treat yourself and how you treat other people. And so I'm going to tie this back around. I promise I'll answer your question. But so back when I was starting the brand, I was really struggling because I was like, okay, what am I doing as a mom? Am I showing my kids that by being a beauty creator, am I teaching them that makeup is what makes you beautiful? Like, how do I teach them what true beauty is? And so, I came up with this idea that true beauty is kindness, right? It's being kind to yourself. It starts there. Kind to other people. So BK stands for beauty is kindness, but also Brooklyn and Kate. And then the last piece of that is that we donate to the kindness campaign, which I know you got to hear a little bit about at our birthday party. The kindness campaign we've been donating to since day one. They are a nonprofit. They're based here in Austin, but they actually serve nationwide. And they create curriculum that they take into schools, and they teach kids about social emotional awareness, empathy, mental health, being kind to others, being kind to yourself. It's really a mental health tool and curriculum. And they go into Title I schools. So a lot of these schools don't have a lot of resources for things like this. And so we give back to the kindness campaign, and we have since we started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's been really cool. We've really made a big impact with them, yeah, it's been really incredible to see, you know, to be able to do something that you love and also be able to give back in a meaningful way to something that's important to you and that, you know, deeply resonates with me as a mom and having kids.
That's awesome. And by the way, guys, for everybody watching, feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'm just like starring and saving some of them so that we'll start answering some of the ones you guys have already popped in. But feel free to ask questions. My next question is, do you feel like over the past few years, like kind of going through this journey, do you feel like you've changed as a person? Do you feel like you are more willing to take risks, or you're more confident, or how do you feel like you've changed?
I mean, I've definitely changed in a lot of ways. And I did, I have done a lot of self development, self growth over the last few years. And I think if I really think deeply to what prompted this, it's, I think this imposter syndrome that I've had, you know, the brand has had a lot of success and it's grown really quickly. And I think that put me in a position of feeling like, oh my gosh, like there's more attention on me and I don't know that I can be what people expect of me, or I don't know that I deserve this, or I don't know that I'm, you know, I just had a lot of imposter syndrome around that, and so I've done a lot of self development work over the last couple years, and so and in a lot of ways I've changed, and what I've learned about that specifically is that, you know, I don't have to, how can I word this to where it kind of makes sense? Like, I think I had this idea in my head of what a beauty brand CEO or leader should be. And I didn't feel like I lined up or matched up to that. And what I've
Mhm.
realized is that there's no should be anything. I am who I am. And, you know, I'm doing this and we're building this company. It's certainly not all me. It's definitely not all me. But this is who I am. And I think that just like leaning into who I am authentically and feeling confident in that and not feeling like I have to be anything else is the greatest gift that I've given myself over the last couple years. And that's an area that I've changed and evolved a lot. Just accepting myself more and not having, you know, of course I still have those voices in my head, like, you
Yeah.
know, of that. I think a lot of us can relate to that. I don't know if you can, but I feel like a lot of us do. I think it's just like reminding myself when I hear that voice that, like, no, you know, everyone is, you know, everyone is a human being. We all have the same insecurities. We all can relate on some level in some way. And I think when we try to be something we're not is when we like block and limit ourselves in so many ways from connecting. So I don't know if I just answered your question, but
I mean, like, I think sometimes too, like blocking those things, like ignorance is bliss. Like when you said, when I started my channel, if I had gone in with all these expectations for myself, I wouldn't have had any fun, and maybe I would have stopped, you know, maybe you would have stopped in the beginning.
totally.
You know, if you don't feel the pressure to have to succeed in that way, sometimes it like pushes you, but then, you know, there are other times where we have to work a little bit harder to tell ourselves that, you know, you have to focus on you and your business and your customers, and just, you know, try and do what you think is right, and do by well by your customers, as opposed to maybe comparing yourself to like what other people are doing, what other people are launching. And I think too, it's like you're probably in a tough position. I can say from my experience as a creator, you know, we're lucky that we receive like a lot of support from our communities, but then you also of course are going to get like feedback, and sometimes it's nice feedback, sometimes it's very critical feedback, and you have to then take that feedback and understand like what part of it should you be learning from,
Mhm.
and maybe not be so worried about some of the feedback that you receive. You have a lot of people being vocal on the internet about your products or your content or whatever it may be. And so it is kind of it's like a muscle that you have to build to
Totally.
constantly remind yourself, like, no, stay razor focused. And I don't
Mhm.
know if you feel this way, Lisa, but I think for me, like what keeps me focused is just understanding like who is my subscriber and what are they like. I'm sure you think about your customer all the time. Like, this is
Look
my
what
customer.
Let me show you what I have here, right here. I actually printed these out. So I had an event here in Austin at Nordstrom, and some of my followers came to see me, and I printed
Oh,
pictures.
that's so great.
I printed pictures out of me and them so that I could keep them here when I'm filming, so that when I'm talking to the camera, I can just look down.
Yeah.
That's who I'm talking to, you know? Yeah, because you're right. Like, it's so easy to, and I find myself, this is something I'm constantly working on, is just being confident, being myself, you know, not feeling like I have to be like someone else or create content like someone else. And that's just like a mental exercise that I go through all the time.
Yeah, totally. I think just always going back and thinking like, what's my mission and purpose? And like,
Mhm.
who is the person that I'm serving or that I'm
To-
creating content for or products or whatever it may be. And I think that like, if you can focus on that, you're good. But it's hard. It's hard because yeah, sometimes we all feel that imposter syndrome and it can be overwhelming if you're trying to like take on new endeavors.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So in I'm constantly growing and changing and evolving for sure. But in some ways too, I want to, you know, remain the same in a lot of ways too, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
One thing I think is important is like, uh, you know, I always say this is like, don't get too high in your highs and don't get too low in your lows. Like, just
Mm.
learn how to like be happy, um, with the growth, with success, but also happy without it, you know, because I think that, you know, where we're at has been really special and exciting, but it's difficult to kind of maintain growth like this. And I know that, you know, I know that we might not always be in this position, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? Like, don't get attached to these things. I think that's important.
Yeah, life can be a little bit of a roller coaster.
Totally.
But if
Yeah.
you need to kind of like figure out how to moderate it.
Yes, just not attaching yourself to, not attaching your happiness to, like, of course, it's nice to enjoy things and enjoy exciting opportunities and moments. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy them and appreciate them, but just not attaching to it. You know what I mean? Like, not feeling like I need this to be happy.
Yeah.
Because if this goes away, I need, you know, the goal is to be happy.
How would you describe the culture of your company? I know you guys are still pretty small and you have a small team.
Yeah.
How
I
would you
would
describe it?
I want us to feel like a family all the time. Like, I want to maintain that feeling of a family, with our team. And actually, a lot of our team, they are family. Like, my sister works with us, and my two sister-in-laws work with us. Two of my best friends since I was 12 years old work with us. So a lot of the people on our team are actually truly family or have known us for decades. And I want, you know, one thing Paul said, so I can't take credit for what he said. He's like, I don't want people to work for me. I want people to work with me. And I
Mm.
think that's important too, is like knowing that we're a team, we're doing this together. You know, everyone's contribution is important. And, you know, I think I'm the face of BK Beauty. So people always assume that, you know, I've built this, and it's like, I haven't. Like, I have had a role in it, yes, but without our team, every part of our team, you know, our social media team who creates all of our content, who works with creators and gets our brand out there, obviously that's hugely important, but also our fulfillment team who packs the orders and gets them out fast and on time, and, you know, makes the customer happy by getting those orders out quickly. They're important. The people that answer customer service emails, they're important. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's important to maintaining, you know, our brand's reputation, and people need to feel valued. You know, I've worked in places where I
Yeah.
did not feel valued. And I worked in places where I felt very valued and cared for, and you can feel that. And so I hope that our culture feels that way to the people on our team. And I always want to maintain that and focus on that.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I'm just checking the questions here. I've been trying to pull some of them aside. I just wanted to quickly thank Magnolia for the super chat. Thank you so much, Magnolia Glamour. I saw that pop in earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt. So I just wanted to make sure I said thank you. Heather wants to know any new brushes coming down the lane. I'm
Yes.
assuming yes.
Yes, we do. We have 3 actually new styles that'll be launching before the end of the year. And
Ooh.
yeah, and so I'm excited. I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna blow the secret if I talk any more about it because I never keep secrets well. But yes, we have 3 new styles. They'll be launching in early December.
Oh, and I have it here below me, but
Holy
this
Grail.
should be restocking soon, right?
Yes, that should be restocking in a few weeks. That's our Holy Grail trio. So those aren't new brush styles, but they're a whole new brush aesthetic. We took our 3 best-selling brushes and we put them in that new finish. It was kind of like we wanted this to be launching for our 5th anniversary, which is in August, but things were delayed, and so we just launched that. But we sold out of that initial run pretty quickly.
They feel really nice, like the handles, very luxurious. And
Yeah.
these are 3 of my most used brushes that I have in my entire brush collection. So I'm like, I already have a couple of each of these.
Yeah.
So it always helps because, sometimes I'm lazy and I don't wash my brushes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I'm there too.
It always helps to have multiple. Lynn was asking, how did Angie's concealer brush take off? One of my first BK brushes.
Yeah. So Angie designed that concealer brush to mimic our 101, which is our 101 was our best-selling brush before the A506 took that spot, but she loved our 101 foundation brush. So she designed her concealer brush to look and be the same shape of that, but obviously in a much smaller size. And it's foundation and concealer brushes typically lead the way when it comes to like bestsellers or viral, which is kind of interesting, right? But yeah, that one, I can't remember specifically if there was like a viral moment that it had or when it just, it was a bestseller before TikTok, but when we got onto TikTok and TikTok Shop opened up, that really just took it to a whole nother level. We just had these creators that were creating really organic content with it. And it was just blowing up. So it was kind of like it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was just a bunch of moments that made that brush take off. And that's what's incredible about social media and products going viral. Like I think that's the truly one product that's really gone viral for us. And it's it's been crazy. It's funny because Angie is in her 60s and she reaches a much a mature demographic, women her age, women a little older, and yet that is the most popular viral product on TikTok, and it's reaching this very young demographic. And so I just love that. I think that's so cool.
It kind of reminds me of like the Jones Road products, and then like Bobby Brown kind of comes up and is like, here's how you use them, or oh, I heard you guys like you like my makeup, because it is designed for a little bit more of like a mature audience, but it did just like pop off on TikTok. Like that was kind of another question that I had, where do you see with your brand, like where do you see the most success? Is it on TikTok? Do you feel like that's where you're seeing more virality as a business owner? Or do you think that there's still a lot of value in YouTube because there's just more time to like demonstrate the products?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. TikTok and YouTube are very, very different. I think that TikTok is where products go viral. But I think that people find more value in YouTube content when it comes to like learning about techniques and learning more in depth about products. I think TikTok Shop has, we got on TikTok Shop early in the platform. It launched last August and we were one of the first brands to get on. And that really, being an early adopter of TikTok Shop really put us in a great position and allowed us to get all this momentum before all these other brands started getting on the platform. And so we've really leaned into TikTok, but my heart is YouTube. And I will always say that like, YouTube is my favorite platform because again, I think you should just go deeper and educate more. And YouTube now has shopping, YouTube shopping, which I've had for a little while. And I think it's just getting better and better. The is getting better and better. But yeah, in terms of going viral, it's really TikTok. But I also talk to a lot of women who say that they saw the brush on TikTok, but they didn't purchase it through TikTok. They would go to YouTube, research it more, or they'd go to Amazon and buy it. So I think TikTok has this effect where it just echoes. So when we started getting a lot of traction on TikTok, we started noticing on Amazon, people were searching for BK Beauty brushes. We weren't on Amazon yet, but we started noticing this flood of search traffic on Amazon. And that's because of TikTok. So TikTok has the ability to really just, really get your products, your name and your product out there, whether people buy it on the platform or they start looking at other places to buy it.
Yeah, because it's just so quick, and I feel like you can kind of grab somebody's attention really quickly. But then I'm kind of the same way. Like I prefer YouTube because I just like to connect with my audience more and like explain things and demonstrate things. But I do think there is value in the short form as well, and sometimes it can be, even if it's just like entertainment value.
Yes. Definitely. I need to get better on TikTok. I'm working on it.
Same.
Upping my TikTok game.
Well, I feel like to your point that you made earlier, like I think that TikTok in short form has been a really great way for your brand to show their personality, because you can do something just like very funny and lighthearted, or you can, make a joke about how like we never want to wash our brushes or something like that,
Yeah.
You can show behind the scenes content.
Yeah. We have fun with that content. We definitely have a lot of fun on short form content.
I want to make sure I get some of these questions. Mimi asks, Lisa, would you consider having a skincare line?
That is such a good question. I'm going to be honest. I have thought about what a dream it would be, but I don't consider myself a skincare expert. So if I ever did, so I'm not saying no, I wouldn't, but if I ever did, I would definitely want to team up with the right person, a dermatologist or an expert, to have them, I know what I want products to do. I know how I want them to look and feel, and I know what results I want to get. But, I would definitely want to partner with someone on that. But I have thought about that. I definitely have.
And then Wanda asks, what makeup are we wearing? Do you want to go first?
Yes. So I actually filmed a video today on Allure Best in Beauty product winners. So I have everything I'm wearing.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's funny because I have a Fenty foundation on this side, and then I have a Danessa Myricks on this side. I have a Milani on this side, and then so I've got a random hodgepodge of products. But the video that I filmed with this makeup look will be up probably next week. So I'll have a full list of products.
Awesome. Guys, make sure you subscribe to her channel. I do have her tagged in the description box if you are not subscribed to her channel, but stay tuned for that video so you can see what makeup she's wearing.
What are you wearing?
I'm trying to remember what I put on my face. I have the Hermes fall palette, and then one of their new liners, like the navy blue one. So I've just been testing those out. I have one of the Swede blushes, the nude one that's called Sun Touch. Just went with like bit of a nude moment. I'm wearing the Suku cream foundation, and then it kind of wore off, but I was just wearing one of these little mini Summer Fridays lip butter balms because it came in one of the little Sephora favorites holiday sets that I've been reviewing, and it's the one that I still have left to review. So I'm just like testing this out. This is the iced coffee scent, and like I kind of feel like these are sort of overhyped, but I'm not gonna lie, this is a really good scent. It doesn't smell like iced coffee. It smells like coffee ice cream, and like that's why it smells so delicious.
Nice.
So if you're a coffee ice cream lover, you just love that kind of like cafe scent, then you might enjoy this as like a nice little everyday lip balm. It doesn't really put much color on the lips.
I have the lipstick I have on though is the YSL Candy Gloss lipsticks in the shade 13, which I love. That's probably one of my favorite products right now. It's this really pretty kind of peachy pink. I think it's actually called Flashing Rose, but it's number 13, and it's the candy lipstick. Yeah, I love that.
They don't put the name on the bottom of the bullet, so then I have to like go with my label maker and label them because I got so tired of like opening them up and you can't really tell which shade it is when you open it up. But I know what you mean. Like, oh, it's number 13.
Yeah. Number 13. It's my second tube of it. And I don't know about you, but I rarely repurchase makeup. I mean, obviously the favorites I'll repurchase, but you get sent so much makeup. You're always trying new makeup all the time.
Exactly.
If I repurchase something, like it's definitely a love, and I repurchase this. So love it.
What are 3 makeup products that you're really loving right now? Like, what are you obsessed with at the moment?
So aside from this lipstick, the Lisa Eldridge, the skin tint and the foundation. So those are amazing. I just tried those recently, and oh my gosh, so beautiful. And then what else am I loving right now? The Revi Beauty blushes. I love those. I don't know if you've tried those yet.
I haven't tried them, but they look really pretty.
They're so pretty. They're powder, but they're just they go on so consistent, and it's a perfect amount of pigment. And it's the perfect amount of like highlight. They're really beautiful. What about you?
What have I been liking? I hate to be bougie, but like I really love the Hermes fall collection. I think that's been my favorite seasonal collection that has launched recently. I also really like the Prada Beauty holiday palette. I've been using that a ton. I've talked about it so much, but have you tried the Swede Glass Skin Foundation?
I need to try Swede because everyone's talking about them, and
It's
I think
so good.
yeah, I like, yeah, but I need to try it. I haven't tried a lot of their products. So what is it? It's the foundation?
It's the foundation. They have a lot of good products, but that one to me is the one that stands out the most.
Okay.
I've been using that and a lot of like stick foundations, like the Dior and the Merit, but it's really good, especially kind of now going into like fall. My skin kind of freaks out because it's like, oh, it's getting a little bit colder, and it's very moisturizing. But they have really good blushes, lipsticks, eyeliners, like everything that I've tried from them has been really good. And it's funny because I always knew them as a lash brand because that's kind of what they started with, like really high quality luxury lashes. And I remember buying a couple and thinking like, these are some of the nicest lashes I'm not a lash connoisseur. I don't wear them that often, but I was like, these are good. And then when they came out with the makeup, I was like, who they trying to be?
Yeah.
And so I didn't really pay attention to it. And that was definitely a mistake because their stuff is so good.
Okay, I'm gonna try it. I think they sent me some stuff, but I haven't got around to trying it, so I'm going to now.
You should give it a try. I want to quickly thank Nancy for the super chat. Thank you so much. Oh, you are new. Welcome. Welcome, Nancy. We appreciate you. Thank you for making it to a live. You're new and you're on this live. That is awesome.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, thank you for your kind note there as well. Lisa, can you see the chat? Can you see the chat on your end?
I just see the ones that you pin. Like I see Nancy's.
Oh, okay.
I don't see anything else.
I'll do more of that because I didn't know that the guests can't see the chat. I'm still a little bit new to this, guys, if you can't tell.
You're doing great. You're doing good on this StreamYard. I want to do more lives on my channel. I said that I would, and then I haven't gotten around to doing it. But I know this is a good platform for hosting guests, right?
It is, yes. It's pretty easy to use. We haven't had too many issues with it, but it's live. So
yeah,
if something happens, like, I don't know, last time my camera just like didn't want to, it was like zoomed in. I didn't know how to fix it. So sometimes I just go with plan B, but it's fine. It's alive. Like we're all here to just be authentic and genuine and chat with each other. And so if I look a little bit weird or if the lighting is wrong, that's okay. Cause I'm just here to talk to people. Because, as I'm sure, like you're talking to somebody when you're making the video, but it's just so fun to hear from everybody in real time.
For sure. Yeah, I love it. Lives are a great way to build community.
Julia wants to know, which BK brush do you use the most?
If I had to pick one, it'd be the 106. It's our dome shape foundation brush. That would be the one I use the most. And the next would be the 112, which is our angled little blush brush.
Oh, awesome. I think for me, it would definitely be the 109. I think this is probably the one that I use the most. Yeah, like I use this for everything. I use it for concealer, for any kind of cream product.
It's a good
I feel
one.
like this one I would have to go with. I love to give BK Beauty brushes and sets to my family and friends as gifts as well, because I feel like it's one of those things that people don't buy for themselves all the time, or they don't know what to buy. So I feel like something like this
Oh,
just
would be a
makes
great
like,
gift. Yes.
yeah, it just makes like the perfect little gift, and it comes with the pouch.
Yes. Yeah, it's very
So
cool.
let me just double check some of these questions. We have a little bit of time left. Mary was asking earlier, the BK Beauty A507. She was wondering if you have considered making a smaller version of that.
So the 112, it's not half the size, it's a little smaller, but it's a smaller angled blush brush. It's the one that I just mentioned that I also use. I wish I had one right in here in front of me. I just moved him over to the sink to get washed, but it's a smaller angled blush brush. So if you're looking for, and it's not as dense as the A507, but you can use it for powder blush or for cream or liquid. I actually used it today and I applied a powder blush on this side and then I applied a liquid blush on this side. It works great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Tiffany said, I'm giving my mom and sister the BK 101 and the A506 for Christmas.
Aw,
That's such a cute gift.
thank you, Tiffany. It's such an honor when people say they gift our products to like people they love. I'm like, oh, that means a lot.
Or sometimes I ask if my family member is like, "Oh, I need brushes." I'm like, "Okay, well, what kind of makeup do you like to do? Like, show me what products you use, and then I'll go and I'll pick out for them what I think they should use."
Yeah, because
And then
sometimes
you can
go ahead. I'm sorry.
and then you can show them how to use it on Christmas.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's what's overwhelming for most people is how to use, what brushes to buy for what products. And I always
Yeah.
tell people, I totally get it. But I also tell people like, don't be afraid. Try it for something that it might not be intended for. You might find that you love to use, a blush brush for foundation, or a concealer
Yeah.
brush for eyeshadow. It's okay.
I usually just buy brushes, and then like half the time I don't read the description because I
Yeah,
almost don't want to be influenced. I just pick it up and I'm like, "Oh, I think I could use this for this."
totally.
And then I look it up and it's like lip brush. It's like, no, I was using this as like an eyeshadow thing.
Yes, people want us to put the name of the brush, like what it's for on the handle. And I have a hard time with that because I'm like, I want you to use this for so many different things,
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
feel pigeonholed into
totally.
using it for just one thing. Here was a
Absolutely.
question. I was looking for this one and I was going to ask this one. Um, do you do you see a future where your brushes are sold in like a Sephora or an Ulta, or do you prefer this more direct to consumer? Do you prefer like having more control over that experience?
Good question. I would love our brushes to be in Sephora or Ulta. I I think that it'll be a little difficult being, just brushes because if you think about it, when you walk into Sephora, you have the Sephora wall of Sephora branded brushes,
Yeah,
right? And then the other brushes you have in the store are like one or two selections for all the brands, right? So I don't know if there's a place in Sephora yet for a like exclusively brush line, although that would be a dream. And yeah, Ulta too. But yeah, absolutely. I would love to be in retail. And I think that will be, I would love to have a place for people to go and touch and feel and see the brushes in real life. Cause we have a little bit of a benefit in that, it's not like it's cosmetics or makeup where it's very shade preference, and texture. So
right.
I think people feel a little more comfortable ordering brushes online than maybe they do makeup, although a lot of us are still ordering makeup online. But I think for when it comes to makeup, that's more important for people to get in store and touch and feel. But I also want our products to be in a store that people can go and visit. And so, yeah, that was a long answer to your question. But yes, I hope in the future to be in a retailer for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes it's just nice to see like the size. That's the question I often get asked the most. Like, do you
Totally.
think this will work for my small face? Or like
Mhm.
I'm just a smaller person, so I have smaller eyelids or whatever. And I often have trouble with that too sometimes. I'm like, how big is this actually?
Yes, that
Sometimes
is.
it's nice to see it in store.
Yes, it's hard to see on a website, the size, a comparison to another brush that you already have.
I feel like I mean, this is my opinion, but I feel like having a brand like BK Beauty in Sephora or Ulta would be awesome because they don't, they really, other than the Sephora brand brushes, they really don't have, unless there's one that I'm forgetting, any brush brands. Like
Mhm.
Hourglass has some brushes, like Westman Atelier has some brushes, but they're all really expensive. Then you have a couple here and there from brands. So your main option, especially if you want to get a set, is the Sephora brand,
Mhm.
and they're just not as soft.
No,
So
I love that answer. I don't know if Sephora would love that answer though, but I love that answer.
we can tag them. We can all go
Yeah.
to Sephora and our community can help make the case.
Yeah.
Courageous Dreamers, Alon for Journey asks, what is your favorite eyeshadow palette?
Oh gosh. I would probably say no, it's not this one. It's of the okay, so I'm gonna give two answers. My favorite is kind of a little boring because it's just a simple, small,
Well,
all
that's
matte.
okay. We like boring and
Right?
simple.
Okay. It's actually the Jane Iredale Naturally Matte Eyeshadow Palette. And oh, you know what? I think I actually have it right here, you guys.
Ooh, yay.
Oh no, this is a different one, but this is a Jane Iredale palette. It's a different shade, but this is the size of the Naturally Matte, and
That
they're all
looks
matte.
pretty.
Isn't this pretty though? I did a video with this one, but
Yeah.
I love that one. Now, if you want like a fun palette that has a ton of colors, the Natasha Denona, is it called Warm? I need a warm palette. Is that what it is? Uh,
Yes, the new
yeah,
one.
the new one. Yeah, that one I'm really loving.
Yeah,
I'm really loving that one. And if you want like a big, fun, beautiful, exciting palette, I'd go with that one.
that's one that I've been using a lot lately as well because it's just like very good. Like if I just need to do something quick, I'll just kind of grab that, and I
Mhm.
have all the shades
Everything
that
neat. Yeah.
suit me.
Yep.
Yeah. Are there any like makeup trends that you're really enjoying right now?
Oh gosh. I love, it's not the latte makeup. Is it is it espresso makeup? What's the term for it now?
Did they change it? Because last year it was latte makeup. Did they
Latte
just change it
last
to like
year.
cappuccino makeup or something?
Something. And I could actually tell you because Kiana from our social team, she's texted me to create some content around it. And I was like, I love this look. And this is a trend that I can get on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's not latte. She described it as like, let me see, I'm looking up a
Like
term from hers.
dulce de leche or something like
Yeah,
that.
or something. Espresso makeup. Espresso makeup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, espresso makeup. So it's just I actually have some inspo right here. I don't know if you can see that, but just like that
It's
very
always Hailey Bieber.
Bieber. It's always
I feel like she just wears the makeup she wants to wear, and then people are like, "It's espresso,"
yes,
like
oh, for sure.
blueberry milk nails or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's very
But
color lips or yeah, glazed
yeah.
donut. Yeah,
I feel like trends are one of those things where it's like it's just inspo for me. If it's something that I like, I'm like, "Oh, I could recreate that," or "I really like that." Rather than feeling like you need to hop on the trend, it's
totally.
more of just a fun way to maybe discover something new or remind yourself of products you already have that you
Mhm.
could then go use. Like, "Oh, I actually have a palette that looks like that. I'm gonna use that tomorrow."
Totally. I also love, I don't know if this is an official trend, but I've been loving it, is like eyeshadow without a lot of heavy eyeliner. Doing
Mhm.
eye makeup without without liner on the top, maybe just a little on the bottom. I really love that look lately. So I don't know if that's an official trend, but I think we should make it one.
I think so too. I try and do like when I review stuff on my channel, most of the time the looks are pretty soft.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of us are like. They look at the palette and you think, oh, because it has these darker colors, like you need to use them or you need to use it to make it a liner or more
Right.
smoky. But there's ways that you can use those colors, like you said, but still have it be very soft and not have to do like a lot of liner or lashes and whatnot.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Let's see, guys. Any last questions? I want to make sure we don't go over time. Um, let's see if I missed any. You guys have been great. Thank you guys for all your comments. Most of the comments haven't been questions. They've been compliments.
Oh, I wish I could see them all. I can't see them. Will they stay on the YouTube video after this publishes, or do they go away after?
I think that they go away. I might be able to like save them. I'm not sure. I have to look into it. I'm still new to this. But this viewer says she has all the brushes except the new trio, and she would love to see you make a kabuki brush for her Bare Minerals foundation and stippling brushes.
First of all, thank you for having all of our brushes. I'm so grateful. We make a lot of brushes. So thank you so much. And kabuki brush, yes, that's one we need to do. And stippling brush too. Yeah, I think that might be coming soon.
Oh, and Ski Coacher was asking earlier, would you consider making a special limited edition holiday brush in the future?
Definitely. We've kind of had that idea. But yeah, that's something that we've definitely talked about, coming out with like exclusive limited edition holiday sets. Initially the Holy Grail trio, that's kind of the concept we had around that, but I think we're going to have that permanently in the line.
Oh, goody.
I think it's fun to have, when I think about my Mac days, every year there was a different holiday set. So it's like you could only get it for that holiday season, and then next year it'd be something different. And it was neat and fun to collect those different collections. And there's something like special about that. I love that.
Absolutely. I saw this comment earlier and I thought that this was funny because it reminded me of like me and my mom. She said, I did my mom's makeup with my BK brushes and she loved them. Boom. Ask and you shall receive. And that reminds me of my mom because every time I do her makeup, we finish up and she's like, buy me everything that you put on my face. Like she's like, oh, I'm like, okay, what did you like? She said, all of it. I wrote all of it.
Is your mom in Dallas?
No, she and my dad live in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but people are always asking, oh, we want to hear your mom's favorites and like your mom's beauty secrets. And I'm like, guys, I choose all her makeup for her. She basically buys whatever I recommend. Sometimes she goes into Sephora and she'll like ask for help and she'll go and she'll find things, which is always really interesting to see what she comes back with because it's just like whatever she gravitated towards. But if you go into her bathroom, like all the makeup around is like the stuff that I use and talk about on my channel all the time.
Oh, my mom's the same way. My mom actually was never really into makeup. So she kind of just, I give her a lot of stuff, obviously, a lot of skincare and a lot of products, but she'll text me. She's like, I just bought that eyeliner you talked about in your video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice, Stephanie. I do my mom's makeup every Sunday for church using BKB. She has dementia and it really makes her feel special. I love that. What a gift you are giving her.
If you guys like my videos with my mom, I do have some coming up next month. So stay tuned. Caitlin is coming back.
How fun. I've done a couple videos with my mom too. They're always fun.
I always have a blast. Okay, guys. I think we are done. We've been here for an hour and 20 minutes. It's been super fun. Thank you all for your absolutely lovely compliments and your insightful questions. Really appreciate everybody who came today. And thank you so much, Lisa, for taking the time out of your evening to join us here today and just kind of share, your passion and your journey and opening up to us. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was very interesting, and I'm seeing a lot of compliments. I'm going to put them up on the screen so you can see them.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me, Sophia. This was fun.
This was awesome. Thank you, everybody. Say thank you. And if you're watching this on the replay, leave us a comment down below and give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. Bye.